Hi all, in this video I'm going to sketch out the basic objectives that Plato is trying to accomplish. Then if we have time I might start to sketch out Plato's divided line, or as Palma refers to it in the text, the simile of the line. I'll try to keep most of these videos to an acceptable YouTube length. Some of them might run a bit over, others I might divide in half, but let's just go ahead and jump into this. At this point I'm going to assume that you've completed the reading. Roughly pages 28 through 50, depending on the edition of the text that you have. And of course, note on this week's module, there are a number of additional videos that you can watch as well. So this one will be the first in my series of videos. And again, I'm going to begin with Plato's objectives. So keep in mind that this is a bit of an oversimplification. But objective one, Plato wants to simply define his terms. Remember, the overall battle here is on the one side, in one corner we have the sophists who think that when push comes to shove, everything is subjective, everything's a matter of opinion. And in the other corner we have Plato, who wants to rise to the challenge and lay out his theory of knowledge, his epistemology. So before we can get going, we need to start in an obvious place. We need to define our terms. What exactly, at least in theory, in the abstract, would constitute knowledge? One on the flip side, commonly enough used term, even though I struggled to spell it. What might we mean by opinion? So that'll then set the stage for objectives 2 and 3, and these are going to overlap significantly as we continue. But one, let's define our terms. Number 2, we want to go on to establish that we can in fact have knowledge. We don't want to just define it in the abstract. But we need to establish that we can in fact know. Again, that's sort of the ultimate objective. Sophistry isn't entirely true. And that leads to yet a third objective or question for us to answer. Given that we can accomplish objective 2, that knowledge is in fact possible, and we haven't shown that yet, we haven't demonstrated as much, that leads to this third question. What can we have knowledge about? Maybe we'll have to concede some territory to sophistry. Maybe some things are a matter of opinion or purely subjective taste. But if we can check off 2, what is it exactly that's knowable? So we'll start obviously in this video with objective number 1. Let's define our terms. So I'm just going to move down here as you follow along. Plato's actually pretty clear in doing this. He gives 4 defining characteristics of each. And no need to take Plato at his words here. As I run through this, ask that question on your own. How would I define knowledge? Is my definition consistent with what Plato said well over 2,000 years ago? And though there have been some challenges to Plato's definition, this for the last few thousand years has been largely accepted. Again, not unchallenged, but a lot of it, at least initially, I think does make pretty good sense. So in no particular order, for Plato, knowledge has to be true. So I'll just put a T here next to defining characteristic A, whereas an opinion, well, this doesn't really apply. It's not the sort of thing that has a truth value. It's not either true or false. And if you're not immediately convinced by this, just consider it in reverse. Can you know something that's false? And here's a handy example to consider. Can I know that the Earth is flat? Or, that is, can Kyrie Irving know that the Earth is flat? Now, he might have reasons to support his view that the Earth isn't a sphere, but is flat, but he can't know this because it's not true. How can you know something that's false? This doesn't seem to make any sense whatsoever. Knowledge has to be A, true. B, for Plato, knowledge has to be justified. So I'll just put a J here next to B. Whereas for opinion, this doesn't really apply. Not applicable in A. I can hold whatever opinion I like, and for no particular reason. So I'm of the opinion, as a quick example, that vanilla ice cream is superior to chocolate. I might be in the minority here in thinking that vanilla is better than chocolate, but it's my opinion, and well, I'm entitled to it. If you want to press me on this, why do you think vanilla is better than chocolate? I really don't have any evidence that I can appeal to. It's just a matter of purely subjective, in this case literally, taste. But this isn't going to cut it for knowledge. If I claim to know something, I better be able to explain it to you. I better be able to back it up. And of course, we've all had an experience similar to this at the very least, where maybe somebody asks you a question, maybe you're in a classroom setting and the instructor poses a question, and you think immediately, oh, I know the answer. Perhaps you even go so far as to raise your hand. And then when you're about to explain to the entire class how it is that you know this, nothing comes out. It's on the tip of your tongue, and yet you just can't put it into words. Well, if this is the case for Plato, Socrates, you know it, you can't explain it. Well, it seems to me that you didn't really know it all that well. This is the idea, of course, behind an essay test. A question is posed, you are to write up an essay explaining what you know. If you can't do this, then you don't understand the material all that well. For it to count as knowledge, it has to be justified, you have to back it up, you have to be able to explain it. Now, interesting side question, and here's the fancy phrase. What constitutes adequate epistemic justification? So let me go off on a bit of a tangent here and mention what does not count. What does not count as epistemic, of or relating to knowledge, justification. So my side note here, emotion does not count as epistemic justification. Feeling does not count. Now notice nonetheless, this is how we might commonly use the phrase to know. So for example, quickly, maybe you go on a job interview, you felt well prepared, you had good answers, so you thought. You go home to tell your loved ones about it, you tell your mom about the interview, and maybe your mom casually says, oh, don't worry about it, I've got a good feeling about this one, I just know you're going to get the job. And that's nice, that's supportive of your mother, but your mother has inadequate epistemic justification. There's your mama joke from philosophy. Your mom has inadequate epistemic justification. Why does she claim to know that you're going to get the job? She's got a good feeling about it. And that's nice, but that doesn't count as epistemic justification. Characteristic C, or number 3, for Plato, and let's this time start on the right with opinion. An opinion can change. An opinion can change. It's my opinion. I don't have to back it up or explain it to anybody. It doesn't have to have this J part. And since it's my opinion, I can change it whenever I like. So a moment ago, I said vanilla is better than chocolate, but now I've reconsidered what was I thinking. Clearly, chocolate is superior to vanilla. It's my opinion. I can change it whenever I want. But does that apply to knowledge? How can knowledge change? So for Plato, and this will be crucial going forward, I'll just put a star here, knowledge has to endure. Knowledge has to endure. Now let me tease out an important distinction here. Your epistemic position might change. Your epistemic position might change. You might later discover new evidence, and based on that new evidence, your perspective of what's true might very well change. But it's not the knowledge that changes, it's your perspective that has changed. For Plato, knowledge is out there to be discovered. It does not change, it endures. And then defining characteristic number 4, or D. This one is minor, I'll be quick. For Plato, opinion is the result of mere rhetoric. Remember, and hopefully you've read about this already, sophists would often specialize in rhetoric, just persuasive speaking, and Plato, taking a little jab, taking a little cheap shot at the sophist, he thinks that rhetoric is only going to get you opinion, whereas philosophy, the love of wisdom, is about gaining knowledge and deepening your understanding of the universe. So knowledge has to be the result not of rhetoric, not of sophistry, but instruction. Somebody that is trained in that particular discipline and can teach you, can give you knowledge. So those are the 3 objectives that Plato is trying to accomplish. We've knocked off objective number 1. There you go, terms defined. which now leaves us with the heavy lifting, objectives 2 and 3 respectively. To accomplish 2 and 3, I'm going to start to sketch out the divided line. That'll be in a separate video. Palmer refers to it in the text as the simile of a line, 2 different words for the same thing. So I'm going to cut this one short. If you haven't already, read about the divided line. Palmer's got a nice illustration in the book. Read about his theory of forms. Fair warning, it's initially confusing, but I'll break it down for you in a separate video.